This is another episode of Dangerous Ideas. My name is Shawn. I'm an innovation strategist. What we do is we break down concepts and frameworks that will change your life. Oh, wow. Hey, everyone. This is another episode of Dangerous Ideas. In this podcast, what we do is we break down concepts and frameworks that will change your life, change your business, change your career, but most importantly, change your life. And we got a special guest in the building today, Eric Termuende. Say hello to the camera.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it.
I've been looking forward to not just today's conversation, but just hanging out with you for months. You know, I just love our chats every time we get together. We started with dangerous driving. You know, you picked me up today, which was great. Then dangerous ideas.
There
next.
You go,
this
man.
Is great. Thank you for the ride.
Well, no, listen, I really appreciate you coming on. For those of you who don't know who Eric is, he's an amazing author, thinker, speaker, and we've known each other for a while now, and I'm going to tell a quick story. You know, one of the reasons why I got into doing keynotes is you called me one day. I was in Pearson Airport, and I was speaking, but I was still at Deloitte, and you called me, and you were like, out of the blue, you were like, dude, when you going pro? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, man, you can make so much more impact by doing this. And, I've been thinking about it, blah, blah, blah. And then, that was another catalyst for me to be like, okay, I need to level up and figure out what this game is all about. And that was a huge inspiration for me. So I really appreciate you making that call.
Thank you for
I don't know if you remember that call. I know where I was.
I don't remember where I was, but I do now think, gosh, now I have to level up significantly, as does the rest of the country, because not only have you taken this speaking, content creation research by storm, you've become not just like the best in Canada, you're in an audience of one in the work that you do, and I'm lucky, grateful to be learning from you.
I appreciate that, man. Well, you know what? I feel like we've just been growing together. It's been really cool. So when we were at the Art of Leadership on the same bill with the former Prime Minister of Canada, I mean, that was a moment. That was really cool.
That was really
By the way,
cool.
Did you get to speak with Stephen Harper on that bill?
Well,
did you chat with him at all?
I chatted with him after, for sure. And I don't want to shoot myself in the foot, but it was one of the events in history that I was late for. The conference organizer knew that I had a tight connection, and of course there was mechanical errors on the plane or something like that. So the story that I love to tell, amongst others with Art of Leadership, is that the former Prime Minister, opened for me because they had to change the bill around, which is great. And so we got to chat a little bit after, and made some jokes about it and just had some fun.
You know, it's funny because that particular gig, that was like one of your bucket list gigs.
The bucket list.
No way. It was the bucket
number
list
one
gig.
Yeah.
And then you decided to go from Mexico. Was it Mexico?
It was
Dominican or something?
It was somewhere.
You're in the Caribbeans.
Yeah, Cayman Islands.
Cayman Islands.
Yeah.
The day before.
But that's where the event was.
Yeah, I know. I get it. Yeah.
It wasn't just a personal trip.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, and we told the organizer, I said, hey, this is how it's going to be. This is before we booked, right?
Yeah.
We would never do anything like this without making sure everyone was in agreement, and all systems go.
Listen, there's only very few people on the planet that can make a prime minister move his slot, and that is you.
I wish I could say it was on purpose.
My quick story with speaking with Prime Minister Harper is that he saw me in every city.
Okay.
I don't think he remembered me at all.
Right. Yeah. Right. Steve, right?
Yeah. What was your name again?
Yeah.
I don't think he remembered me. And I did talk to him before going up. And by the way, it was interesting. There was no entourage. There was no one around him. And you could just walk up to the Prime Minister.
Right.
Funny enough, earlier this year, I was on a bill with Bill and Hillary Clinton, and they had Secret Service everywhere. They literally kicked Neve and I out of the backstage.
Really?
They literally kicked us out and say, well, you can't be here.
Wow.
And I learned later it's because we didn't have clearance, but they had Secret Service everywhere. It was nuts. The Prime Minister Harper, you can just go and say what's up.
Yeah, I mean, in many ways that doesn't surprise me.
No.
In others, it's cool to be in a position where you get exposed to these things.
The guy was sitting but right behind me in the plane.
Yep.
And he's like in the Calgary airport lounge, just like
just hanging out.
And actually, that's where I found a really cool secret about the Calgary airport lounge. I didn't know that they had a private room in the Calgary Air Canada lounge that you can use if you're like a celebrity or if you're super elite. So,
oh really?
Then I realized that where's this guy going? He's in the lounge. Where is he going? He's going to this private lounge, and I'm like, and then subsequently, I've been signing up to go to that private lounge.
Where do you sign up?
The only person you just call them in advance, and then the only person that goes in there is Harper. So, anyways, that's just a secret. It's like no longer a secret. Hey, Stephen Harper.
Remember when you had like old library books, like who checked out before? It's like, who was in the session? It's like Stephen Harper.
I swear to God.
Steve Kanungo. Stephen Harper.
I swear to God. Go to the
I'm going next time.
This podcast too bougie already.
Okay.
Listen, in this podcast, what we do is we break down concepts and frameworks that will change your life. And I thought I would just do is throw some dangerous ideas and see what you think about these ideas. So, number one, dangerous idea is run your own race. The idea that I feel like sometimes we get really influenced by the people around us. We get influenced by other people that we see on social media or people that we interact with. No matter what business you're in marketing, you're in accounting, you're in public speaking, 100%. You're an author. Yep. You see you're like, oh, like this person is doing like this person is doing like this, and you get trapped sometimes. And part of the reason why you may feel you're not doing as well is you see somebody else out there, they're killing it in a particular realm, or they sold this many books. But at the end of the day, you should have to focus on, I believe, that running your own race, like truly. And that's what I've been trying to do, is just being like, hey, this is my race. This is what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. This is what I'm focused on. These are my metrics and outcomes, and not be influenced by other people.
Sure.
Yet we get it's tough to
so much easier.
We just get caught up with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you ever felt that you were running someone else's race?
Oh my gosh. Yes, always. And not just like professionally, like personally too. You know, am I running the next race? Am I reading enough books? Am I spending enough time with my wife? You know, am I generating enough revenue? Am I writing enough words? Am I creating enough content? Am I doing enough in any one of these aspects? So like professionally, I can agree and relate with you, but personally too. I mean, health and wellness, I think, is a big thing. I compare myself to all of my friends, you know, in Vancouver who are, you know, running the next marathon or doing where I'm not going to date the cast here, but you know, there's a race in Vancouver every solstice, and the goal is like, how many times can you do the grouse grind? You know, which the grouse grind sucks on an awesome day, and I think the record now is like 17 times or something like that. And I've got a few friends that sign up every year and they do 8 or 9 or 10. It's like, man, I would love to do that. Yeah. Meanwhile, I do it once and just gassed completely. But then they feel inferior and feel like I should be doing more, and maybe I should be prioritizing this, that, or the other thing. So I couldn't relate to that more, for sure, in every aspect of life.
But you know, like one of the things that you're a master at is, you know, doing speeches. You've opened up to coaching like a whole bunch of incredibly high, you know, high, elite sort of speakers and thinkers out there. But you're also seeing are you seeing that they're also influenced by other people? Like, I want to do this or I want to do that, or they're just like, they become one. They become part of this like melting pot almost.
Sure. I think 100% yes. And the metric that I look for myself as to whether or not I'm running my own race is like, how fast am I falling asleep every night?
Wow.
I honestly think that is your best metric of, am I doing it my way? Because if you're doing it your way, there shouldn't be any anxiety or comparison or anything like that. If I'm doing it my way, it's going to take however long it takes. I'm going to be doing the things that I want to do, and I'm going to get a great sleep every night. If I'm too worried about looking at your content 7 days a week on LinkedIn and how phenomenal it is, truly.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You know, like I said, I don't think there's anyone who does what you do better. I don't do what you do, and I'm okay not doing what you do because I'm channeling my efforts into things that I want to do and enjoy doing more of. So what that does for me is two things. Number one, it gives me more freedom, and it gives me more flexibility to play in the areas that I want to play.
Yep.
But number two, it allows me to be a better fan and supporter of you because I'm not competing against you. Like, I see what you're doing, and I just want nothing more than for you to continue to soar.
And nothing to do with it.
And nothing to do with it. But that's great. Isn't that what we should all sort of aspire to? Like, I've got a lot of people in my space that speak about similar things that I do. And I will study them deeply. You know, I can name drop a couple people like Heather McGowan, phenomenal at what she does. Seth Madison, phenomenal at what he does. Smiley Pozwalski, phenomenal at what he does. I don't do what they do. You know, I don't bring the same style. I don't bring the same performative aspects. Yep. In Heather's case, I don't bring the same deep, intimate research that she does. Love is not a word that enters my vocabulary like it is for Seth right now. And I just love what they do. And I love that I can cheer them on and support them, knowing that I'm running my own race and I'm okay with it.
You know, you named a whole bunch of people, you know, that you, I guess, are in the same sort of ilk, or, you know, people might compare you to other folks, but who inspires you then? Like who are you looking at in terms of your business or your life that you're like, actually, although I'm running my race, I'm also like inspired by these individuals?
Yeah, I mean, and this isn't a slight to anyone inside the industry, but it's typically people outside of the industry. Like I look to comedians for presentation skills and just like the ability to tell a story seemingly for the first time, even if they've told it 1,000 times before. Like how awesome are comedians at that? You know, I look at entrepreneurs who are running small, medium businesses to say like, how are you balancing the business and like sales and growth and development and learning? How are you doing that? Then I'll look at like great parents and say like, okay, how are you being a great parent while still being great in your professional life too? And then I'll look at like the athletes who are managing their diet and managing their fitness routine. And I'll like take elements of the things that I want in my life and sort of build my life by design while not feeling like I have to compare to myself to anyone in particular. What do you do? I mean, you're a father, you're a content creator, you're on stage, I'm not even going to guess, many stages every year. Who do you look to? And I don't just mean in like, because again, I think you're a category of one in how you've built your business, but like, let's talk more broadly. Like, how are you building your life?
You know what? I draw inspiration like from a business or performance perspective. I draw inspiration from, you know, similar folks, which is like comedians, superstars, rock stars, you know, other authors that are running their own shows or their own theater shows, which I'm really, really inspired by. From a family perspective, that's a difficult question. I don't know if I'm following or inspired by anybody on that front. I think that's something that you got to kind of figure out on your own, I think.
Sure.
And it's just, it is the Wild West. But I look to my wife to be like, okay, this is what we're always like wondering, like what we're going to do next. So, you know, I'm always trying to learn though, like how to be a better person, how to be a better father. I'm always like listening to content or books or podcasts just to like pick up. And, you know, 90% of the stuff that I see, I disagree with, but you know, I'll take those 10% like here and there.
But there's value in disagreement too.
No, of course.
Yeah, and I think that like a lot of the commentary and a lot of the way that I've designed my life is to not be like somebody else.
100%.
Not just to be like or emulate somebody that I really admire. And I think if we go back to comedy, like you can get a comedian who elicits this roar from the audience, who delivers this profanity laden joke that's like not my style at all. You know, like when I'm up on a stage, I don't raise my voice louder than this once. You know? And so you get those like screaming comedians who come in there and just do the whole song and dance and performance. They kill on stage, you know, for the ones that have mastered their craft. And then you get like a Nate Bargatze who comes in and just tells these like really everyday stories about his family and his kids. Not like Seinfeld's another great example. You know, like no profanity, you know, the fluctuation of tone is very minimal, yet you can just like I learn from that, and I also learn from the comedians who I don't really relate to.
What's been really cool watching you actually is just like include more comedy within your act and your performance, and just think like was that a deliberate choice to be like, okay, I need to make this funner, I need to make this more entertaining, I need to be more authentic, I need to be more personal, and it's like people just it's like this dance around how do I connect with the audience, and actually humor is a great way to connecting.
I mean, for those who know me, know that like dad jokes are, you know, my number one form of currency.
Okay.
You know, sarcasm, self-deprecation, lightheartedness, you know, stringing 3 or 4 serious sentences together is excruciating for me. And so, you know, you talk a little bit about authenticity. bringing this style into my keynote is a really delicate balance, because I'm trying to be an appropriate level of myself while still understanding what is going to be really bring value to the group in the room, you know? And so I'd say that I'm working on my strategic authenticity, or a certain amount of authenticity.
Strategic authenticity.
Yeah. I would say that's been like my primary focus over the past while.
Can you let me double click on what is strategic authenticity?
Enhance. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I think there's rhetoric in the market today that says bring your whole self to work.
Yeah.
Or be exactly who you are. And I think generally speaking, that is horrific advice.
Woo! Okay.
I mean, be who you are. You know, this is not about things that we believe in or who we really are. Like I believe we got to be who we really are. But if you've been on a first date before, you know, if you've been in that meeting where you're looking for that promotion, if you're in a really tough situation, say you're walking home and it's dark or something like that, and you're confronted by somebody, the whole like be who you really are in this situation, I think is like the worst possible advice you could be. And so I think the art of being a keynote speaker is like bringing the appropriate level of yourself so that you can run your own race. You are uniquely you, but you're still meeting the audience where they're at too, right? I'm not showing up on stage with PJs. I'm not talking on stage like I'm talking in the group chat with the guys, right? Like I'm not doing that. Of course not. That's not appropriate at all. But if you wanted like the real, true me, it's going to bring in more sarcasm. It's going to bring in more play. It's going to bring in more fun while still making sure that I'm hitting on what needs to be delivered on, and I'm doing it in a way where the audience is going to resonate. Like, look, you get an audience of middle management, you know, that are specifically in HR, that on average are 45-year-old females. Like that is different than a VC group of people, you know, who are in downtown New York. There's 34 people in the room. The average age is 77. There's no one audience that's better than the other, but I can promise you, I'm not bringing the same version of me to one audience as I am the other. And I think that's part of the art of what we get to do.
I love that.
So I'll ask you, I mean, you're showing up in Nashville with, I'm going to call it a sombrero, not a cowboy hat, enough shade to like make sure nobody can see the lights. How are you bringing who you really are while still like throwing a cowboy hat on, or, you know, wearing the boots? Like, cause is that really you? Or is that like the you that you wanted to bring out so that you could elicit a certain response from the audience while still not saying, hey, this isn't not me, but maybe it's not fully me. So where do you sit?
Well, the sombrero is actually, that is like full me, right? Cause I am somebody that is
Mexican.
That is
no, sorry.
Yeah, I wish. No, not. I am somebody that's fun. My friends know me as somebody that is, that's goofy, that's fun,
for sure,
that likes to have a good time, and so that is me, right? And I actually think that the more that I can include myself in that, the more that I can be. I actually think that this pod is actually the fullest version of me,
right?
Which is, I love hip hop. I love NBA. And I can speak on that in my keynotes, but come on. I'm not gonna be talking about, you know, Drake versus Kendrick during a conversation with like accounting clerks,
for sure,
account receivable clerk. I'm not. That's disrespectful to the audience.
Sure.
But you still can bring yourself as somebody that is that's somebody that loves culture, that somebody loves technology, that somebody loves their family, and bring those pieces in. You can still connect with them without being too niche. Do you know what I mean?
But that's one of your biggest, like, I would argue, one of your biggest competitive advantages. I mean, for 9.5 out of 10 speakers to go on stage and talk about like Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, in Colombia,
is suicide on the stage. Like, it is not a good idea unless you do it in a way that I think is true and authentic to who you are, and still, most importantly, serves the purpose of delivering the point that you're trying to get across.
Right.
Because what you're using in all of your hip hop references, in all your cultural references, is you're using something that's relevant, something that everyone's talking about, to make the point that you're trying to make. And I think that is customization, that is individualization, that is like awareness, and that is like it's customization and understanding of the audience that demonstrates professionalism at an entirely new level. Because I can go in and talk about new headlines right now, but if I can do that, if I go do that just to tell the audience that I'm relevant, and not use that information to get the point across that I think the audience needs to learn if they're going to succeed in the future of work.
Right.
It's vanity. It's for me. It's not for the audience at all. And it does more harm than good.
Right. No, I appreciate that. I am somebody that loves culture. Like I love bringing in things that have just happened, or that's just who I am.
Yeah.
So the more that I can bring that into my keynotes, I feel like people resonate with this. And you know, it's funny because like I with the entertainment piece or the comedy piece, when I introduce more of those elements to my keynote, not a single person ever comes up to me like, "Yo, that was really funny." Not a single person says that, even though I've introduced a lot of comedic elements. They always say that, you know, that was inspiring, or that to change my perspective. So it's like, what's funny to me is that the more entertaining and exciting and whatever it might be in the presentation, the more actually I'm holding them the whole 60 minutes so that they're actually able to receive the information in a
because the entertainment is in service of the information.
Right.
That's why.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people can be entertaining. You can tell great stories, but if the great story isn't in service of the point that you're trying to make, it's just a great story.
Right.
It's not transformational. And one of the things that keeps you at the top is that you are entertaining, you're captivating, and what you're sharing all this information for is so that people can be more bold, they can put themselves out of a job, they can navigate the future of work, they can innovate more effectively. But I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
How do you balance commentary and thought leadership? Because a lot of what you bring to the forefront is like cutting edge, brand new. And you're able to say like, here is what's happening in the world around us, specifically around AI. You'll talk about Sora, which is, you know, OpenAI's relatively new tool now. You'll talk about all the new tools that are coming out. How do you then take commentary on what's happening and transition that to like thought leadership and meaningful content?
Well, number one, I think you have to make it relevant to them and saying, okay, so there's something new that's coming to the market. Like practically, how does this impact what you're doing?
Yeah.
How does this change how we should be looking at the technology? You know, an example like Sora, where, you know, it hasn't even come out yet. Like, and just recently there have been some, you know, competitors that have come out where you can actually create compelling text to video, which is incredible.
Of course.
Like most people are never going to use text to video generators. They probably won't use it in their daily life. They might to like visualize idea at some point, but they're probably not going to use it. But what I'm showing it by leveraging an example like Sora is saying, here's something that has come out. Why is this relevant to you? The reason why this is relevant to you is because we're moving to a revolution where if somebody can create a text-to-video generator, that means that they can create a text-to-app generator, a text-to-website generator, a text-to-whatever generator. And if they're actually doing the hard part first, what does this mean for everything else? So it's like apply what you're seeing to what you're doing on the ground floor and be like, okay, so this is coming out later. How do I start playing with this? How do I start experimenting with this to see what I'm doing? You know, when I do the generative AI pieces within my keynotes, I literally try to make it practical. I literally give an example within their particular industry. I'm like, here's me actually doing your job.
Nice.
And that could scare the shit out of people. And it has. Or it could be like, holy shit, I need to learn this. I need to pick it up. Because if I'm doing your job better than you're doing your job, then that's a wake-up call.
So how do you then make sure that your audience isn't left feeling fearful and just paranoid and anxious about next, and more empowered and equipped and excited about what's next?
So it's twofold. Number one is that there is an element of fear to it. Right? But the second piece that I always try to mention, especially when it comes to AI, because, you know, at Deloitte, one of the things that we did was we implemented robotic process automation with clients, RPA, like hard work, like leveraging all these technologies, implementing it within clients, to like leveraging IBM Watson in clients. Like I had a voice AI startup in 2018. We were working with like the Bank of Canada So like I've been part of this revolution for a very long time. And what I say to everyone is that every single person that I've seen like actually like truly immerse themselves in the technology, actually build a muscle around it. Like I'm talking about people like in finance that are not like AI people. When they start playing with it and using it, not a single person has ever said they're going to lose their job. Every single person has said like, what can I build? What can I create? And they actually see this as power at the end of the day. And so if you can show people that actually the technology actually gives you power, the more that they're going to be empowered to actually use the tool. And it's like, it makes sense. If you develop a skill in this particular realm, you're going to be indispensable. You know, my book is called The Bold Ones. Actually, the subtitle is like How to Become Truly Indispensable. You become indispensable when you develop a skill that 99% of the people are still not developing, and you're always ahead of the game. Right? Like to me, that's what you have to do. And if you're scared of this technology, 99.99% of the time is that you haven't put in the work yet.
For sure. Or any work.
Exactly. So it's just a reminder that you just have to put in the work. I mean, the point is that you should be using all these tools to put yourself out of a job. Right. And
how do you know where to start though? Like, where do you, like, what kind of like tabs are you keeping on the world of tech and AI? You know, because maybe I guess if I were to flip the question, how are you running your own race? How are you enabling yourself to be pulled to the next phase of your career? You know, how are you getting pulled into technologies that will help put old Shawn out of work and keep new Shawn alive and well? Like, where are you going for that, call it inspiration, but more importantly, where are you going for that next version of you?
You know, I'm always looking at how do I continue to like push myself outside of my comfort zone. When it comes to AI, it's actually literally applying AI to almost everything that we do. You know, even this podcast, we use this thing called Podcast AI, and what it does. What's that?
Great name.
Yeah. It's called Podcast AI, right? What it does, like we just put the podcast into this thing. It creates the show notes. It creates the clips. It creates the transcripts. It literally, you can actually like use AI to ask me questions about this episode, and it will just generate the answer. Like, I want to optimize every part of my life in order so that I can double down on human beings and figure out what's next. For me, what's next has nothing to do with AI. For me, what's next is like, how do I level up my brand, my thought leadership? My mission is like to make a bigger impact on this planet when it comes to innovation. How do I continue to do that on a next level, whether it's having a show, whether it's dropping another special, whether it's coming out with another book, whether it's just doing things on my own accord. That's what I'm thinking about. That's nothing to do with like technology. It's more like it's almost the anti-technology.
I love that. That's great.
So I want to ask you this. I believe that life is a sales pitch. And the idea that you should always be, unfortunately, you should always be marketing. And do you sometimes feel allergic to like marketing yourself or trying to sell your time? Yeah.
I hate it.
And I think most people do.
I hate it.
But you do realize that marketing yourself is it's part of the game.
The first thing that comes up for me is like I play it as like a quality, not a quantity game. And the best marketing that I get for my business is 60 minutes that I've got on stage. And if I can nail that 60 minutes, we do not have to put a single ad out. We don't have to do SEO. We don't have to do anything. You know, business will take care of itself. So my investment right now is in better storytelling. It's in a better open. It's in better slides. It's in better sleep, you know, or it's in, honestly, I would rather invest in sitting in like premium economy rather than economy, because I'm going to show up better at that event. Like, how do I optimize that 60 minutes to be the best it can possibly be. Because you're right, every interaction is a sales pitch, and I want to make sure that the interactions that I've got with people are as positive as they can possibly be. And that includes, for me, if we stick specifically to speaking, how do I show up early and make sure that like the knives and forks are on the table? If things are running late at lunch, like can I help clear and bust the tables? You know.
But wouldn't you agree that every single product, whether it's a battery, whether it's a camera, whether it's consulting services, whether it's a movie, at the end of the day, you have to be marketing. You have to be selling that. You have to be able to get people to know how good that product is. The product cannot be just as good as it is. It needs marketing around it to make it for people to see it at the end of the day.
I struggle with that because I don't disagree, I don't disagree. And one of the things that's really important to me right now is the family that I've got and the time that I've got that's not working, that's not pushing this stuff. I'm at a point now where I recognize that if I spend more time and money marketing, then I'll have to deliver on the time and money that I spent to get that stage or to get that opportunity that I wouldn't have had if I didn't spend that time and money marketing it. But if I market less and spend less time and money, then I don't have to make as much to go pay for that again. And so my business, I'm very grateful, is right now at a point where things are great. I'm trying not to like be complacent. I'm always like, I've got a team of researchers that are helping me out, that are always staying as relevant as possible. But to go create content and create videos, I've found is just not right now the best use of my time. There will be a time where I think I need to do that a little bit more. And I think that you're right. Every interaction is a marketing opportunity, or whether we like it or not. I just have fewer opportunities where I'm making that opportunity to be seen even possible.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, let me expand this outside of you.
Okay.
Like if you're selling a shoe,
Yep.
you know, I don't quote Gary Vee a lot, but I did send this like video to my commercial real estate friends because they're just terrible at marketing.
Okay.
They're really good at selling.
Sure.
And if you're really good at selling, sometimes you're really bad at marketing, which means that you don't understand.
What does that mean?
Yeah. So if you're always trying to sell yourself and get in front of the door for other people, that means you may not be doing a good job at getting people to knock on your door.
Okay. Yeah.
So marketing gets people to knock on your door. And if you actually understand that by getting more people to knock on your door, you don't have to go out and knock on other people's doors.
True.
Obviously, every organization has a balance of both selling and marketing. But marketing today is obviously hard to do, but it's underappreciated, especially people that are in sales. And if you are in any business, if you're Drake, if you're Louis Vuitton, if you're an author, you have to be marketing in order for people to knock on your door, so you're not constantly selling.
For sure.
It's exhausting selling.
For sure. The question then more specifically is like, is it important? Or like what
like you should like the question is that like, do you think that in this age today, in an age that is, we're just inundated with ideas and content and TikToks and whatever, that actually marketing yourself becomes disproportionately more important today than ever before?
Sure. Yeah. In many ways, one of the ways is that the market just generally you're right. It could be shoes, or it could be computers. It could be anything else. Is more saturated and competitive than it's ever been before. We also get like those DTC brands that come out of seemingly nowhere.
Yep.
You know, you take like an Allbirds or someone like that who have built these, like, I'm going to call it in a positive way, like a cult following almost of you get these like rabid super fans who love the product and will promote it left, right. Like Gymshark is another perfect example of a company who has exploded because they've created like super fans of people that love the product and see it just take off from there. I think in many ways, how things have changed is, you know, the billboard of yesterday applies far less than the person that we follow on TikTok today who's using or talking about that same product that the billboard would have in the past. And I think the X factor there is trust.
Yeah.
You know, the smaller the market and the more of a super fan we are of the product, the more I'm going to trust that individual who's promoting the product, you know? And so for that reason, when I look at marketing and I look at like myself, and we'll come back to the other stuff shortly, but you know, if I can create that raving super fan in the audience rather than creating a piece of content that's coming from me out into the wild, you know, that's just like, okay, great, Eric's talking about himself again or talking about this piece of content. I think it's really great, especially if the content and entertainment value is in service of the lesson that needed to be learned. But if I get someone who leaves my session saying, oh my God, like, I'll take it back to their team and said, you know, I just heard this talk. It's exactly what we need. We need to bring this guy in. Forget the, like, I don't know, I'm sure this has happened 100 times to you. Forget what the agenda says. Forget the topics that are on this. Forget all of it. We need Shawn. He's going to be our opener in, I don't know, Barbados in November. And
I'm waiting for my Barbados invitation, but no, it hasn't.
I mean, it's got to be one of the few spots that haven't been invited to
No.
yet. But then they come to your social, you know, and then they're validated by all the stuff that you've put out there, being like, oh gosh, yeah, you're right. This is amazing. But it came from that point of trust first. And I think that, yeah, whether it's a new pair of shoes or, you know, even if it's an airline or something like that.
Yeah.
Hey, I flew Air Canada yesterday. It was a phenomenal experience, which, you know, I'm sure many people would probably disagree with. But if someone trusts me and know that I fly 150 or 175 times a year, they trust the airline that I want to go with.
Yeah.
And then they see that marketing online, I think they might follow it a little bit more intently. What do you think?
Well, you know, absolutely. I think I always say that people follow people at the end of the day.
100%.
And that's why you're seeing the move to the creator economy. That's why, you know, I believe that individuals will have more trust than ever before.
Yeah.
And that's
you've
why,
been talking about this for
and I feel like
leading this talk.
I mean, that's why even all these DTC companies have the reason why Gymshark became relevant was because you had all these influencers come out, and their strategy was incredible.
It's great.
That all these influencers come out and they actually evangelize the product.
Yep.
So I believe that, and I love your marketing aspect too, which is actually like I don't need to market myself because everybody in this room is going to be going off and marketing.
Well, hold on, that's what I'm aspiring.
And I need that energy.
That's aspirational. Okay, that's not necessarily realistic, but
no, that's exactly what's happening because as I put together 1,000 pieces of content and you're not. It doesn't matter because you know you're putting together such an incredible experience and you know thought-provoking ideas for people that it's just selling on its own, which is somewhere I need to get to.
But again, that's what we talk about when we say running our own race, right?
Exactly.
While you're going in this beautiful studio with 34 cameras and all these different angles and scenes doing your thing, like I am watching a comedian with a sharp pencil and a brand new sheet of white paper trying to understand exactly how he or she is doing exactly what they're doing. It's still an investment of time. It's still an investment in resources in many ways. And then we're applying the things that we've learned or created into where we think is going to have the highest maximal return.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I've worked on actually quite a bit in my keynote is to, you know, I wear a heart rate monitor. I've actually worked a lot on my heart rate.
Okay.
You know, some people will say that, you know, I feel like I've just run a half marathon by the time I'm off stage.
Okay.
You know, I want my heart rate to be about 75 beats per minute when I'm on stage, which is like right what it is right now. Like I want to leave the conversation the same way I started it, which is very much conversational. And I want to share for an hour. I don't want to present. I don't want to pontificate. I don't want to lecture. I just want to converse in a way that I think is truest to me so that by the end of it, I'm not sweating. I'm not burned out. I'm not out of energy. I've delivered something that I think is very connected, very grounded, very real, very important to me.
Yep.
And it's taken me 7 years to not sweat on stage.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And that is, it's allowing me to come at this in a way that I really want to be on stage.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be running around rallying people up. That's just not my style.
Yeah.
But it took me a long time to figure out that that's not how I want to be doing it. And it took a lot of time sort of behind the scenes while you're creating content and finding your voice. I'm sort of behind the scenes writing things out and feeling different ways because I want to maximize that what I'm calling like a very limited marketing window, which is 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's not to say every other speaker doesn't want to maximize that 60 minutes too, but that's where I'm spending the lion's share of my effort.
Well, the reason why I love content is because I can take this idea and it's just another way of scaling influence in a way, right? You're on a stage for 60 minutes. You can take that idea, one idea, you can put that out, and it's just another way of just like shooting out in the universe this idea.
Yeah.
And I've been trying less to be like, there's, I was talking to somebody else about this, which is the idea of like she was sharing me this idea, this poster she had, and I'm like, this is a vanity. I feel like there's two types of posts. There's a vanity post, whether it's on LinkedIn or YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or whatever. There's a vanity post.
Yep.
And there's a value post.
Sure.
A value post is you have a dangerous idea there that somebody can take and they can do something with it.
Yep.
The vanity post is like just, and listen, I have vanity posts too. Like I'm looking good here. And, check out my outfit, check out my hat. Like I have, there are vanity posts. But we should probably create more value posts.
What's the relationship like? 90-10.
I don't know I don't know if I had a nice ass, it would be only vanity posts. Okay?
Leverage what you got.
Yeah, leverage what you got.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you're an author or you're a thought leader or you're a thinker, you're a speaker, you probably should have more value-driven posts.
Sure.
Which is like you have a dangerous idea. I say dangerous idea. It's like your idea.
Yeah, sure.
It's a dangerous idea that somebody can take and be like, you know what? That was useful. I'm going to share it to a friend.
Yep.
To me, that is actually what I call, that's what, if you're in the business of ideas, as we are, that we should probably tend towards doing more of that as opposed to the vanity.
Yeah. Yes.
Vanity posts. But I'm not here to dictate people's social media.
No.
I'm just saying, if somebody sends me something, I'm like, that's fine.
Sure.
There's a vanity post. I have lots of vanity posts.
Sure. The funny thing that's come up for me recently, though, and I don't know how much we want to talk about speaking specifically, but there's actually, we like to say that we're solving the businesses or the associations problem by coming in to talk about what we talk about. But there's a second problem that we're solving that nobody talks about, or at least not near enough. We're actually solving the meeting planner's problem too. And the meeting planner has a problem when you've got a 4-day event in Vegas and you've got a really important AGM that happens at the end of the 4th day and everyone's hungover and tired and doesn't want to be in that conference event room anymore. Do they want, at the start of day 4, do they want an academic who's going to bring their black and white slides full of thought leadership and phenomenal, dangerous ideas? Or do they want somebody who's going to bring high entertainment value, a little bit more of that vanity side to get people fired up and excited and inspired about like what's to come, to keep them in the room, to have that like AGM at the end of day 4? I think, we solve a business problem for sure, but we also, and can't forget, solve a meeting planner's problem too.
I agree. I'm saying that's in the actual talk. I believe, to me, that's like entertainment versus, I don't know. I don't even I'm saying just strictly on social media.
Sure, but the vanity versus thought leadership will also help the meeting planner determine what problem we're going to solve for them too, not just the business. And I think that if you've got like, you're out there juggling, that's not necessarily thought leadership, but I might be a meeting planner that says, okay, well, this person can apply juggling to change management and help us solve the business problem and still be a great opener. I don't know.
I'm just seeing somebody do juggling and solve their change management.
It happens.
Problem. Hey,
someone's doing it. It will solve 2 problems.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is that, that is a problem for a meeting planner that they have to solve, which is like, how do you get somebody that is entertaining?
Like my guess is your speaking slot is almost always opener.
I would say maybe like 60-70% of the time.
Because
I don't know why.
I would say you're like that high energy conference.
Yeah, but people want high energy. They're like, but they're like, we need a high energy right after lunch. Hey, we need a high energy right after people leave, just to kick it, just to get people inspired.
Leave them on that good note.
About? You need high energy every single time.
So then,
when do you not need high energy? We need high energy everywhere.
Yeah, and I just keep going back to vanity versus value, and I just think that that we can't Like vanity, like, hey, look at me. Like that's one thing. But there's also like, hey, look at who I am and the personality that I can bring. It's not necessarily thought leadership. One of the best things about your content is that not only do you deliver great content, but you deliver it your way, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think like the unintended positive consequence of you creating so much content is it's not just that you're able to bring in relevant, customized content, is that you get to show your audience who you are before you get on stage too.
Yeah, no,
Which is like video is just such a great platform for you too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's videos just, it's unstoppable. And it just continues to like, I believe it's the best way of just showing who you are.
Yeah.
Right? It's the video. You can't fake video.
Yeah.
You can fake video, but like, to be honest with you, it just comes.
It'd be more impressive if you could fully fake it to the point where it's hard.
Yeah, well, we're getting there with AI. But I want to know. In my book, I talked about this idea of building your own personal moat, which is like your own personal monopoly. It's similar to this idea of running your own race. Like, what do you think is your competitive advantage? And I ask you this because I had somebody that listens to this pod call me the other day. And it was like, hey man, I just want to get on a call. Like, I love the pod, love what you've been doing. I'm just like kind of figuring out my business right now. And he's actually a comedian. So he was like, I'm just trying to figure out my business right now. And I'm trying to figure out like, how do I level up? Like, how do I continue to like be bold and level up? And this was the first question I asked him, which was, what is your personal moat? Like what fundamentally do you think differentiates you from everyone else? And he was like, okay, well, I'm in this category of comedy. And I'm like, okay, that everyone does that. Like not everyone does that. A lot of people do that category of comedy. And I'm like, what else differentiates you? And he was like, you know what? I don't know. I have no idea. And I think finding your own personal moat is, to me, instead of finding your passion, I think you should find your own personal moat. What is your competitive advantage? What is your personal monopoly? What is that, you call the audience of one? What is that?
Yeah.
What is that skill that you have? And it could be a combination of skills. It's like, oh, I'm really good at video editing and, art. I'm going to put those things together. That's my personal moat.
Cool.
I'm really good at being a chef and, speaking, I don't know, speaking Spanish while cooking eggs. That's my moat. Like, what's your personal monopoly? And so I don't know if you reflect on what you're doing, what do you think is your like differentiator? What is something that you can uniquely do that no one else can do?
I mean, it's a very hard question. Can you like answer it first? Would you say yours is the content that you bring and the uniqueness that you bring to creating the content? I
think the only monopoly that I have, the only personal monopoly I have is the ability to, it's because of my passion for culture, with my ability to storytell, with being able to quickly put that through together with content.
Sure.
So it's like,
that's a big X factor though. The speed that you do it is the speed. So wildly impressive.
So the speed. Now, everyone might have a passion for culture. Everyone might be able to like put something up quickly or edit something quickly. But they may not be on stage. So I'm combining all those three things together. And that is the one thing that I know I can do that is uniquely different from everyone else today. Now, I don't see anybody else doing that.
No,
so to me, that is like a personal monopoly, even though it may not even be relevant for anything, but it's like the only thing that I have, it's like a magic trick that I have that I'm like, I'm just going to continue doing this because I love it. And I think it's relevant for the audience. It's relevant for a broader market. And I'm just going to keep doing that. And that's the race that I want to continue to run and have a differentiated look at. Because if somebody can point to be like, that is different. Like I've never seen that before, like taking something and that just happened that morning or that night, have a unique take on it and then putting that out. Now, Stephen A. Smith on ESPN can do that too.
Sure.
He's not on a stage. He is on a stage, which is his own stage, but it's not in front of a live audience.
Yep.
And so I'm like Stephen A. Smith doing that in front of a live audience, was having a unique take on something that just happened in front of a whole bunch of people.
Yep.
So if and I asked that, and maybe it's something that you're like, maybe it's something that you're still working on, or it's still something that you're discovering. We're all discovering something.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely a work in progress for sure. And at the same time, I'm able to take something as ambiguous and uncertain as the future
Yeah.
and get people to understand that they have the tools within them to know how to navigate it effectively. And I do that through wild and unpredictable stories that allow people to see themselves in the characters of the stories and understand that if the character in the story can navigate this really difficult situation and prepare for whatever uncertainty the future is going to bring, then we indeed can too. I mean, I shift my audiences from fear and uncertainty about the future to understanding and excitement about it. And I don't think there are many people that do that. And I do it in a way that is completely digestible, completely understandable, and structured in a way where people can follow every step along the way. You know, one of the things that I do is
you're taking like a complex, scary,
the
potentially
future,
scary topic.
man. The future. I mean, here's the thing. I think we've been asking the wrong question about the future of work. We've been asking, what does the future of work look like? And the truth is, like, we don't know. You know, I don't know what the weather is going to do this afternoon, let alone what the future of work is going to look like. So I think the question we should be asking instead of what does the future of work look like, it's how can we build an incredible team that can help us get to whatever the future of work looks like. And just a small reframe from shifting from like, what does it look like to how can we navigate whatever it looks like immediately gives us more ownership and more control, surrendering to the things that we can't control and really owning the things that we can. And I just think that it comes down to the storytelling and the relatability of how it happens. Yeah. And if we can do that effectively, I just leave this audience feeling more empowered about next than ever before.
Dude, that's a moat. I think that's it.
It might be. It's something that
You're gonna sleep at night thinking about this. I'm so happy.
Yeah, you're right. I am. I'm going to sleep well because I'm running my own race. But I'm going to be thinking about it when I'm sleeping well, right?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, you know, on that note, like, I want to know what do you think is like a misconception that somebody has about you, or when people see you online or people see you on stage, they see you at the airport. What do you think is one of the misconceptions?
They think I'm going to pontificate or talk about the future of work. I'm not.
Right.
Not at all. Yeah, I don't talk about the future of work. I think anyone who truly like can absolutely with certainty tell us what the future of work is going to look like, you know, obviously it's well intended, but you're wrong, you know. Yeah. And so the future of work is less about what it is and more about how to get there. And I think you talk about how to get there, how to use the tool. Like, where are the tools going to take you? I don't know. What does it mean to put yourself out of work? What's the next job? I don't know. But we're going to figure it out. And so the misconception is that I'm going to come in there and stand up there like a lecturer or like a professor, you know, giving this talk on the future of work. I'm not.
But like even more, expand it even further from that. Like you have just like your casual friends, your acquaintances, even your close friends.
Oh man.
What is one of the misconceptions that they have of what you do? And you're like, no, like, bro, like no, that's not what I do. Or
I mean, I'm sure you've heard it 100 times before, you know, friends or colleagues or people who are close to me, they'll say, oh yeah, you're a public speaker, right? It's like Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Here's the funny thing. And this
do you embrace that or do you?
No, I don't get there in the first place. And I'll tell you how I avoid it. And this is no slight to anyone, although it's going to sound like it. But if I want to have if I don't want to have the conversation, I'm in an airport or sitting beside someone on a plane or something like that and say, what do you do for work? I just say I'm in HR, you know?
Got it.
Because I'm in people and culture, future of work, leadership, team development. And the next question is like, so where are you going? There's no other questions.
Yeah.
If you want to elicit a conversation, you start talking about this whole work that we do. And, you know, I get to have a little bit more fun with it. But what is a misconception that people have about me is that I think that you know, my goal, I think that the misconceptions I have that other people will have about me are as a result of me learning more about myself along the way too. You know, I thought that this was just primarily, especially when I got started, about like wealth accumulation and impact that we could make. And it's about providing for my family, and it's about making as large of an impact as possible. But like, my goalposts have shifted, even in the last 12 months or something like that, and changing the value of an hour and the value of a conversation. And, this is not my whole life right now. The difference is, though, like 3 years ago, it was.
Right.
And this took every ounce, every fiber of my being to be able to sit here with you today. And now things have shifted. I want to be able to write more. I want to be able to create more. I want to be able to go on more hikes.
Nice.
And just want to be able to live a life that is defined by a different level of success than I would have defined it 3 years ago. So the misconceptions that people will have about me are based on the person that I wanted to be, based on who I was a couple of years ago. And I think that's shifting. And I think that shift for me has just allowed a lot more freedom, a lot less need to prove or pontificate, and just be able to connect. Like, I would have never told you that a couple of years ago, the goal on stage would be to keep like 75 beats per minute. It would be to get up there and be like the loudest and proudest and like jumping aroundest keynote. And I'm grateful that, we got to share Art of Leadership and we got to be on that stage. Like, that was the pinnacle of success for me. It was my race. It was my mountaintop. And I'm so glad that we got to do that when we did. So now I can shift my goals and shift my focus onto things that put a smile on my face.
Man, I think the message that you have, I got a teaser of what you're working on next. And I honestly believe it's going to be an absolute game changer. Love what you're doing, man. It's been I'm honestly like just honored to just be in the same category as you, to be on the same bill as you, because you are changing people's lives, and it's just been a blessing to just be in the same like category as you to do this. This is it's been great, man. I really appreciate you coming on the pod and sharing your thoughts, your ideas, your insights. And where can people find you?
In the show notes, probably. Generated by podcast.ai,
AI,
right?
That's right.
Before we get to that, though, I just want to, reciprocate the gratitude, because, you say that we're in the same category. I don't feel that. Like, you are light years ahead on everything that you're doing, and to be able to learn from you and to be able to just have a conversation like this in your hometown of Edmonton, where the sun's going to be up until like 11 o'clock. It means a lot to be here. Your friendship means a lot. I really look up to you in this industry, and as a friend too, and as a father too. So, I mean, we talk about the people that we look up to. I look up to you in many aspects of life, not for the marathon training, but, for many of the other aspects. And I'm grateful to be here. And if anyone wants to keep up the conversation, LinkedIn or just my personal website, erictermuende.com is where you'll find me.
Well, very kind of you. So rate, subscribe, review. What do you got to do on this pod? You know what to do. We'll see you on the next one. Dangerous Ideas.